What's up, Mortgage Coach community? It is a busy day of interviewing amazing professionals. I just finished talking to Dan Keller, talking about the three things new loan officers should be doing. And now we're going to go to Los Alamitos, Southern California. Is Los Al Orange County or is that LA County, Joe?
Orange County barely, but people in South County don't think it counts as Orange County. So
yeah,
still
I
Orange
think
County.
yeah, that's what I thought. It's still Orange County, right on the border, North Orange County.
Right there, barely.
Yeah. I went. So we got Joe Soto,
Soto.
Joe Soto.
It's okay, I've been called worse.
Yeah, so have I. I grew up in Huntington Beach, so I'm real close to you. And my mother-in-law lives in Los Al, and my wife went to Milliken, so I know the area really well. It's a very competitive place for mortgage professionals, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a couple of mortgage companies around here, like 1,000 or 2,000 in every mile. It seems like there's a lot of loan guys for sure.
And really well-trained mortgage professionals. Like the quality of mortgage pro in your market is a little higher than I think the typical market.
For sure, yeah. There's some really good LOs, really knowledgeable, great teams. It's super cool, right? Like good competition, but it's all friendly competition. I think everybody has a lot of respect for each other and everybody shares ideas. But yeah, some good guys out here.
Good. Well, I am pumped to interview you. This is the first time I've got to have this kind of a chat. Why don't, for anyone that's watching this, whether they're a new loan officer, figure it out, because it seems like there's more new blood coming into the space than ever before, or just seasoned pro that's like, how do I get more hours out of the day? Like, let's face it, it's COVID low interest rates. It's been a refi boom. Tell us about your team and tell us what you're doing to be successful.
Got it. So I appreciate the time and just sharing a little bit of my story. So team is super awesome. I've got two LPs on the front end that help with lead take-in and bringing lead follow-up, pre-approving clients and doing that stuff. And then they basically will talk to the client, take the app, get the information, and then we'll work on the pre-approval together. And then they'll set up what we call a mortgage coach appointment. So literally, they will, when we talk to a client, here's our 3-step process. First step is your application. Let's look at where you're at now versus where you want to be. Second step is your documentation. Third step is where Joe's going to sit down with you. We're going to review your options. We're going to coach you through the mortgage process. We're going to do a mortgage coach with you. And we literally send them the Zoom invite and it says mortgage coach with Joe. And that's how it goes with every client.
Dude, I did not know it was going to be that cool. Mortgage coach with Joe, and you're wearing the brand in the marketplace. So we appreciate everybody that gives a family a TCA, but when you actually call it a mortgage coach meeting, we appreciate it a little bit more. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think we take a consultative approach, right? We want to educate people. I learned a long time ago that people are super scared when they get a loan, whether it's their first loan or their fifth. They're nervous the whole time. So we really educate and take that time to show them and coach them through the process.
Well, we'll see after you do this interview how we're going to position it on YouTube. But I like what you just said, how you're turning borrower education into a competitive advantage. You're turning that into your value proposition. So how many loans have you done this year? What kind of production are you doing? Just give us a feel for your volume.
Year to date, I'm at about 230 loans, 110 million in total production, personal production.
Is this your first time breaking the 100 million mark?
First time breaking the 100 million, yeah. First time breaking 100 million, so it's been pretty fun.
Well, guys, let's give a hand to Joe, because that's a big milestone. I think there's a first time you closed over 10 loans in a month. That's a big, like, whoa. Then there's, I don't know what the next milestone is. Maybe it's 25, maybe it's 50. But when you break $100 million in mortgage production, you are in a very elite crowd. Although there are more people doing that this year than ever before, it's still like a super elite crowd of mortgage professionals. So congratulations.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah.
What's the next goal? Have you decided what you're going to be going for in 2021 yet?
We're going for 150. The goal is to get to 250, whether it's 1, 2, 3 years away, we'll get there. It's a process, but they say the first 100 million is the hardest. So 200 million shouldn't be hard.
It's funny you said that. I'm going to be interviewing Tim Brahim and Josh Metal in a couple of weeks. And Tim and I were having a little prep via text. hey, what are we going to talk about? He's going to talk about how getting to 200 million was a lot easier than getting to 100. It's absolutely true because you figured out the systems, just like getting to the point where you can close 10 loans in a single month. Like that's hard.
That's
but
hard.
but once you get there and you get a good perfect process, you can keep going. So if there is anyone listening to this on our Facebook Live channel, put questions and comments. I will check in there a few times. So you also achieved a big milestone this year. You became a mortgage coach Grand Master. He started the year as a black belt. Have done over 300 total cost analysis, and today we'll show it to you in a minute. He is a grandmaster that's done over 1,000 total cost analysis. So thank you for representing. Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't know what the next level is. Jeremy Forcier is over 6,000. Cody Touche. I mean, we got a lot of people. So we got to come up with like Ninja or
that'd be pretty
Yoda, something
status.
Fun. Yeah, Yoda status. So we have another level for you, Joe. So let's talk about why is mortgage coach? Why do you call your meetings mortgage coach meetings, and why do you use mortgage coach?
So I like it because it's, again, I think it's just empowering to the person, right? I think it's a matter of showing them. We tell every client that when we pre-approve you and we go over numbers, that there's going to be no surprises, right? That's one of our value proposition is when you get into escrow and you find a house, it's not going to be higher cash to close. Your payment's not going to be higher. There will be no surprises. And we're going to lay it out for you so that you're confident when you go out shopping for a house, when you make an offer on a house, if you have to go up $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, that you know what that equates to payment-wise and cash-wise, so that you're strong and you're empowered when you're going through the process, And same thing on a refi, we make sure that they're clear on financial benefit, right? Does it make financial sense to do this loan or not? And that way, the numbers never lie, It's just a matter of being really clear and really transparent. And people appreciate that. I mean, we have lots of people who are like, I've never seen this before. This is amazing. Why doesn't every loan officer do this? And I think every loan officer should for sure.
What does your scripting sound like before you show them the mortgage coach? Because I find that some loan officers do that in a more valuable way than others. But how do you position that advice conversation with the family?
When we're setting up the appointment. So when we set up the appointment or to talk to the client.
Do both.
So it's the same 3-step process, right? Application process, documentation. And then the third step, which is the most important, is that's where we set up a meeting to go over all your numbers, right? We want you to be 100% clear on the cash to close. So we don't necessarily talk about just down payment. We want you to know what's going to be included in closing costs, prepaid interest, escrows, prepaids, all of that stuff. And we're really clear on cash to close, as well as monthly payment. So we want you to leave that meeting with not only a pre-approval letter, but knowing that you're 100% clear on what your monthly payment is going to be and what your cash to close is going to be. How much money is coming out of your bank account at the end of the day? When it's all said and done, how much is left in that bank account? And that's how we tell people that they're going to be totally ready to go by the end of our meeting, end of that mortgage meeting.
Love that. Well, I know one thing that I wanted to, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview is you've done over 100 million in production. You've done over 1,000 TCAs. I wanted to celebrate that and say thank you personally. But you also use some of our integrations. Your company you work with doesn't have our Optimal Blue integration yet, but you do have other mortgage coach integrations that you're using. Why don't you walk us through how you create a mortgage coach experience for a family? And then let's do a mortgage strategy. Show your desktop whenever you want and walk us through one.
Got it. So the integration, Jungo is the easiest integration in the history of mankind. I mean, you guys have made it so easy to have the Jungo integration with Mortgage Coach, where it's literally 2 or 3 buttons clicked and poof. I mean, you've got it set up there. And then the new one is HomeBot. I mean, HomeBot has been amazing to deal with. People love the HomeBot. People are addicted to knowing the value of their property. That's why Zillow is so popular, I think, because you click there and you see, oh, my house went up. But that HomeBot integration is great because they click one or two buttons and then boom, the TCA goes out to them, you know? I mean, it makes it really super simple.
How do you have that set? Because I know there's a number of settings where the minute the family requests for, I think it's cost details, it creates a TCA and they get it. And there's another one where they can wait an hour and you can update it. You can wait a
Mine's
few
set for
hours.
24 hours. So
Okay,
it
so
goes
you
out
set
the
yours.
next day. So it gives me a time to at least reach out to the client. And then they'll get it 24 hours later. I believe that's how
Cool,
I have it set up, but they get it. Yeah.
cool.
People love it.
Well, yeah. And guys, we give you that flexibility. I recommend either an hour or immediately because you can augment it. But every loan, I mean, we made it with options so that you can pick when the family gets the TCA based off of when they request it through HomeBot. We love HomeBot. We highly recommend it. I think it's never been more important that you go beyond the transaction. Like it's great that you can close loans and you can close them on time and you have competitive rates, table stakes. That's you're not going to kill it in Orange County with that story. You need to deliver advice, you need to deliver education, and you do it at a level that's a competitive advantage. So walk us through your team process. You know, like who creates, does the data input and creates TCA, who presents it, do you put a video on it, do you do live? Walk us through the how and show us an example of one.
Yeah, for sure. So team sets it up. One of my LPs will get the documentation. They will go in, they will set up scenarios through the mortgage coach. And then I will review it and just make sure, button it up, tighten it up, see if I can, just adjust the numbers a little bit. But for the most part, they're really good about setting it up. I mean, we've done so many that like they're just as good at doing it as I am. But I do every single client consult, right? Unless I'm out of town for whatever reason, I meet with 100% of the clients. I go over the options with them. I walk them through the why behind the options that we gave them. Why do they qualify for this? And so a lot of it's been on Zoom, but I walk them through everything. Like I can pull this up.
Yeah, show it. And what do you call it to the client? Do you call it a mortgage coach? Do you call it a total cost? Do you have another, like, what does the customer, the borrower think this is?
I tell them it's a mortgage coach or a total cost analysis.
We like that.
Yeah, I'm good for branding, I guess. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't try to.
Oh, time out. Don't leave that screen yet. Don't leave that screen. So guys, this is, if you click on settings, you can see that he's created 1,151 TCAs. You can see that they have been viewed 5,722 times. So roughly 5 different people or same families looking at it twice. So we know there's engagement. We know there's value. There's a ripple effect to the value. We know that he's done 256 videos. And then scroll down a little bit. You notice if you're new, we have onboarding badges. And scroll down to the bottom of that. I want people to see that you downloaded the apps, you're using APIs, you're logging in consecutively. I mean, that all means that he's using this thing. And then go to the top and click on that little box next to the red belt. Yeah, right there. Just want to remind guys, we give you a path to go from fee worksheet loan officer to I'm a ninja. I'm a black belt. I don't just give rates and fees. I give advice. I give borrower experience at a level that's a competitive advantage. So cool. So why don't you go to how often do you add a video? It looks like 25, 30% of the time you're putting a video on it. Is that about right?
Yeah, if the client can't do face to face, like if they can't do a Zoom, I'll add a video. But I like to walk them through it at least once. That way, when I send updates and they look at it on their app, like they already know how to navigate through it, right? Like I feel like when you look at it initially, you're like, whoa, what's going on? So it might be a 20 or 30-minute conversation where we walk through it, but I try to walk through I try to walk through it with everybody. And then that's why it's not as many videos as I don't feel like I need to. Once I walk you through it, like I can send it to you, I can update it, you can look at it on your app and you're usually good to go.
Yeah, I would push you. First of all, I think what you're doing is great. It's a best practice. I interviewed Kevin Carlson. I don't know if you know Kevin. He did over 100 loans last month. And he's talking how one of the things that he's doing is he's creating the TCA, he's putting a video on it, and then he's getting the client, and then he's finding that at next meeting can be less. And I'm sure he's putting some people into a 30-minute Zoom meeting, but you might want to list that interview because the dude did a lot of volume, and he just checked that one out. For anybody listening, I'll put a link down below to the Kevin Carlson interview. Cool. So tell us what we're looking at here, man.
So this is one that I ran for a client. Again, I gave him different scenarios and different options, and we ran condo options versus single family residence options. So I literally would go, here's the 500K, 475 condo, here's 650, 600 single family, right? Because Orange County, you could be in a house or you could be in a condo. I mean, it's just depends on the area. And these people just wanted to look at every option, right? So I do my best to give people different ranges, right? 500 and 475, and go over purchase price, loan amount, interest rate, term of the loan, monthly payment. And so what I have found is by doing these $25,000 increments that I really can reduce this to the ridiculous, right? It's old Tom Hopkins sales idea, but if I can take this $2,970 payment and I subtract the $2,836, it tells me that every $5,000 is $134, right? So if I divide that by 5, I can let Joe client know every $5,000 that you increase your offer is going to equate to about $26 in monthly payment. And I find that breaking that down to the 5,000 number really, stops people from saying, well, what happens if I offer 480 on this house or 485? I give them that information. So I walk through the pros and cons of each, right? Loan amount, purchase price, APR. We talk about APR up front. And then I do show them payment and cash to close. And then what I tell them is that from here, you can click this more info button and that's where you're going to get granular, right? So I'm a very visual person. And I like the fact that I can come into here and I can break down the principal and interest, the property taxes, the homeowner's insurance, PMI, right? Total monthly payment. Again, that why there's no surprises. When you go on a Zillow calculator or you go on Google calculators, it may only show you this. And that's not reality. We live in reality, right? We want to show you real numbers, what's going to come out of your account every month, what you can budget for. And so I love the fact that it can break it down and show them everything that's included in the payment, and they can decide what works for them.
Love it. And guys, I want to point out and notice that he's highlighting this, and it's called Mortgage Coach Live, whether they're looking at it on Zoom or whether you forward it to them and you're just over the phone, whatever you click on changes on their device. So whether they're walking on their laptop, their mobile device, this is a live highlighter and you're controlling their screen. So like when he opened up the more info tab, that opens up the more info tab for the client. And you're educating them and you're teaching them how to use their mortgage coach, their total cost analysis. Do you click on the total cost or the closing cost tab much? Like
I do. I'll go into that. I don't dig into all of the itemized fees, but I do show them down payment, right? We do talk about APR, non-APR costs. I break it down this way in that the APR cost is typically I put the 15 days of interest in there. So I like to talk about interest up front and go, hey, here's 15 days of interest because you're not going to have a payment the next month, but you're not skipping a payment, right? That's a myth. There's the interest that's going to be collected. These are closing costs and these are prepaids. And so I go over all of that with them in more detail. We'll even talk about upfront mortgage insurance, if it's an FHA or a VA. And a lot of times people don't even know about that, right? Like they've been pre-approved with 3 other lenders and I'm the first person to tell them that FHA has a funding fee, upfront MIP. They're like, what do you mean? Nobody else told me that. I'm like, well, here's what it is. And so it's really good to show them, but I don't break down the fees line by line until they get a contract and that sort of stuff.
Got it. And guys, every loan officer, every team that uses a mortgage coach does it differently. Like if I was interviewing Jeremy Forcier, he does bulk fees. He does an estimate of bulk fees and he does the TCA. His team doesn't do it. That's rare. that a person that does the kind of volume that either one of these guys do. Most of people, if they have a team, their team does it. If you don't have a team, you do it all. Anything else you want to highlight? Do you show the total cost over time? Are there any other strategies you want to show?
No, I always go over cash to close, right? I think that's the most important number. I tell people all the time, the two most important numbers are payment and cash to close, right? So how much money is coming out of your bank account at the end of the process? And so we really talk a lot about that and what that means, so that they're clear, like, hey, I don't just need this, right? I need everything.
Got it. The one thing I would push people is, call it a pro tip, especially if you know you're being rate shopped, to show the total cost over time, because a lot of loan officers, well, you're doing it in an elevated way, a modern way, and I'm sure you're getting wows. But if you're dealing with a grinder and then you show the cost over time, other lenders can't do that. If they have Mortgage Coach, they could do it, but now you're showing people transparency beyond the normal experience. And Costco lenders, most loan officers can't show options and cost over time. And so now you're like, oh, they didn't show you that. Yeah. Jeremy uses that move all the time, and he also, a lot of loan officers will show different payments, different points. So different rates and different points, especially if you're talking to a shopper, you want them to see that, hey, I can do this rate, I can do that rate. Yeah. I can show payment options. And I'm sure you do that when you think that's
on refis.
On point.
Refis for sure. I give them the options. I have this one here that this was a refi, and the client had gotten hounded for FHA streamlines. FHA loan done a couple of years ago. They're like, Joe, we get 5 letters in the mail a day. We probably get 2 or 3 calls a day. You should do an FHA streamline. And we went through the numbers and I showed them how a conventional loan is going to be more beneficial for them than this streamline, even though the streamline appears to have a much lower interest rate, right? But over time, the streamline was going to cost them more money, right? Here's the total interest over 30 years on a streamline versus on a conventional loan, they can get rid of the PMI. And they were like, well, why would anybody do this? That doesn't make sense. And I go, because they're obsessed with the lower rate. It's a higher cost over the life of the loan. Who does that benefit? Does that benefit you or the bank? Benefits the bank 99.999% of the time. So I think on a refi, it does allow you to show them the win over time, which is huge, right? That's how you beat the bank. More principal, less interest.
You could have. Do you ever do this where you could have also taken that $452 and said, hey, what if you did the refi with me and you prepaid your mortgage? How much more interest would you save, and how much faster would you pay off your loan? Do you ever do that?
Oh yeah, I'll put the payment exactly the same. So I would take this payment and make it to $41.65, and then now we've taken the term way down.
How about going into the advice engine real quick? I just want to show people how quick and easy it is. Go to this scenario, into the advice engine, guys. We're going to do this like live.
Into that scenario.
Yeah, go into that particular scenario. You probably go to analyze. See, guys. He's clicking on analyze. He's going into the adjustment. You can see this guy. He's done it before. Yeah. He's adding that payment differential.
I think it was 431 and some change.
See, so guys, look how fast this is.
Boom.
Now, look at that. They could pay off their house in 23 years versus 29 years, saving 5.6 years. Now go back to the consumer version of it. Go back to for the family. Let's refresh that just to make sure it worked. Now there's not going to be monthly savings now. So you see that monthly savings at the top, but guys, look at the savings
up here. This is the monthly payments about the same.
Yep.
Right.
But look at the term
over the life of the loan If you stay in the current FHA, it's 417,000 versus the new loan is 281. I mean,
So
it's a no-brainer at any, I mean, it's just a no-brainer. Like, why would I not? And if you're comparing it to the FHA, again, now you're looking at $50,000 less interest. Like,
yeah, but and that's the other thing. That Kevin Carlson interview was sweet because he also talked about how with refis he focuses on 3 years. So, but I'm not saying he's right. I'm just sharing different ways of doing it. Show the middle option real quick again, just so we can see what the interim costs. You're doing 60 months. So
6 months, yeah.
yeah. So anyways, super compelling, super powerful. Let me see if we've got any questions from the community. No questions yet. So Joe, what about how do you, and you can stop sharing your screen now. The fact that you got Mortgage Coach, you've got this elevated borrower experience called Mortgage Coach Meeting. How do you turn that into a value prop with realtors? Or do you turn that into a realtor value in any way?
I think our whole process is the value prop, right? I mean, I think we do a really good job on the pre-approval. We've got amazing follow-up. But then we make sure that the client is 100% ready to go. You're not going to put somebody in a car and then they're going to get cold feet once they get their offer accepted. And so our thing is we're going to educate them to the point where they're going to want to refer you their friends and family, right? Like, and we've had lots of people who have come to us and bought a house and been like, I've never had this. This is my third house. I've never had somebody walk me through the numbers like this. Like, this is so great. And ultimately it leads to now you have such a high level of trust that they want to tell your friends. I mean, I had a guy call me earlier today and he walked to his neighbor's house and go, here, this is the guy you need to talk to, and handed the phone to his neighbor. Like, that's super high trust where he knows we're not trying to sell him. We're not trying to we're looking out for his best interest 100% of the time. And agents appreciate that and they want to refer somebody who's going to take care of their clients.
Yeah, they do. So I want to ask one question that came up in our group. Dan and I talked about it earlier today, but I would love to know how you would answer this. A brand new loan officer got in the business. Amy Power, you're getting lots of traction around your post the other day. It's in our Facebook group. She's already got 97 comments on a post.
I think I saw that one.
Yeah, did you see it? I'm a brand new LO. There's so many options out there for growth. If you were a new loan officer, knowing what you know, what 3 tools would you purchase to get started? I know how Dan and I answered that. Obviously, I'm Mr. Mortgage Coach, so I think that should be number one. Although I sincerely do think it's number one because it's a community and it's technology. But what are the 3 tools that you'd recommend to a new loan officer?
I mean, I think the number one thing, you need a good CRM, right? You need to have your database organized. You need to have your information. So whether it's Jungo or something else that's on there, Jungo's a beast, but it's great. A CRM's awesome. I love BombBomb. I think BombBomb's a great program. I use it a lot to connect with my database. And then I use the Mortgage Coach a lot. Like, I live in the Mortgage Coach. So it's hard for me to recommend anything else because I think you need to have, being new, you need to have a presentation, right? So you need to have something that you can give to clients and have a presentation. So those would probably be the 3 for me. Just 1, to stay organized, 2, to stay in contact, stay top of mind, 3, to have a good sales presentation.
I like that. So Dan Keller said, invest in you, read books. He put Mortgage Coach number 2, and he said coaching number 3. And so, and here's the deal, Amy. I mean, there's tools, and then there's things you need to do, and there's skills you need to build. And I don't think there's a right answer. You know, where I make the case for Mortgage Coach is that it's content. You know, there's a community, there's videos you can watch, overcoming what to say when someone says, what's your rate? You need to know how to do that. I think I put CRM as my number 3, but I could easily make CRM my number 1. I mean, like, if you are not taking people that you meet, putting them into a place that you can organize it, take action on it, and make promises at scale, your whole mortgage practice is on quicksand. You can't scale without a great CRM and habits around that. So, dude, let's wrap this up. Any last words of advice that you have for you've watched these videos before. By the way, any favorites come to mind when you think of the Mortgage Coach YouTube videos?
Gosh, there's a bunch of Jeremy Forcier's that are really good. You've had a bunch with Renee. I love Renee on all the time. I mean, he's a Jedi in himself.
Have you been to Amplify yet?
I have not, but I was on the website literally yesterday, looking at when's the next live one, because I want to do a live one, but I'm gonna go for sure.
I'll introduce you to Renee so that you get to know him personally, and he is just a incredible human being. And he's talking about Renee Rodriguez, guys. I have been through his Amplify 3 times this year, and it's the best personal development experience of my life. And I've been through some mind-boggling personal development experiences. By the way, guys, I'm going to see Jocko's Muster in Dallas on December 3rd and 4th. I'm taking my 18-year-old son. If there are any mortgage people that either live in Dallas or are willing to get on a plane to go to Dallas, it's a great leadership event. So I just want to put a plug in for that. Cool. Yeah, so cool, dude. Any last words of wisdom for the community?
No, that's it, man. I think we're all fighting the fight, right? We're all doing the best we can. We're busier than we ever thought we'd be at the start of COVID. I think it's just a matter of adding value, starting with giving, right? Givers gain. So the more you can give to people and educate and help, the more you'll get back. And if you put that first, everything else will work out. You just have to have the right attitude about it.
I do have one last question, because I am just passionate about turning loan officers into mortgage coaches. And I think a lot of people underestimate how much time it saves. Like, it's not just a sales advantage. It's not just a value to the consumer, but it saves you time. Would you agree with that?
1,000%. Yeah, I think we've done so many mortgage coaches because we have the same process every time. And so you call up and you're looking for a new loan, you're going to get the same process every time. And the third step is we're going to do a face-to-face meeting or Zoom, and we're going to go over your options, and we're going to give you a mortgage coach, and we're going to go over your scenario. And so it's one, I think you take control of the conversation, you lead the client, and they know that you're going to take care of them. I think that's huge. When you have control of the process, you get more time in your day.
Love it, guys. So we are going to call this a wrap. Thank you very much, Joe. Super good to meet you.
Man.
Looking forward to meeting you in the real world one day. I'll connect you with Renee. Hopefully I'll see you at one of those events, or I'll see you in the real world. So guys, right on. If you got value from this, give it a like, share it with your mortgage friends, and take care of y'all.